All right, we might have actually Facebook up and running before we do, before I have YouTube going, so bear with me just a minute, Facebook people, while we get YouTubers. There we go. All right, both are up and running. I have lots of interesting people saying hi today. That's kind of fun. All right, ready to go? Come on, come on, come on, come on. I have Facebook running. YouTube seems to be lagging behind. All right. Whew. All right, hello. Oh, let me get some sound in my ear so I can hear you better. Let's see if we have bad static. If we do, there's nothing we can do about it actually today. Let's see how it sounds. All right, do we have sound? We do, all right. So back to the job at hand. So this is what I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by a technical problem. One of the benefits to doing rough sketches is that when the time comes for doing the final drawing, rendering, scratching, which will be in pen and ink, I can focus all of my energy on making interesting marks instead of having to worry, instead of having to burn energy and focus and attention on accuracy. Does that make sense? So that you'll see when I begin doing the final illustrations here in a little while. Okay, I've worn the point off that pencil again. A quick sharpen. All right. All right, I've been working at this long enough. I'm getting rather anxious to get on with it, so to speak. Let's move on to pen and ink. But I do hope you're seeing the benefit. By the way, so the benefit of this trick, if you will, calling it a trick, this trick is doing your first drawing in a very light color and then getting subsequently darker and darker and darker. Thereby, the earlier marks essentially disappear. Like when you look at this drawing here, what your eyes see, the blue and the purple, essentially you can see the orange, but your eyes ignore it because they are distracted by the intensity of the darker purple or blue colors, right? Now, this same principle, the same trick can be employed in many other mediums, not just watercolor pencil. For instance, here's one of mine, a classic, is vine charcoal. That's that stuff that looks like like it sounds, looks like a completely dried out bit of charcoal in the shape of a little twig. Vine charcoal, a classic element in oil painting, but also used just for doing charcoal drawings. But vine charcoal is quite a light color of charcoal. It's a light gray. Get it? Whereas almost all other charcoal sticks, pencils, and so forth are considerably darker than the than the vine charcoal. So you can do the same exact trick with charcoal. Use the vine charcoal first, and then on the second pass, use darker charcoal. Okay, I think I'm going to try to go without drawing this vehicle over here, which is problematic, but I am going to put a bigger bush right there. That'll go. That'll take care of it. All right. Whew. Finally. I'm finally ready to start drawing. Oh, and let me get a glove on my hand again. Finally ready to start drawing in pen and ink. Our YouTube channel seems to be having, everything seems to be having a hard time connecting. My. Gang, sorry, I don't know why our internet is so bad. I fear that it's because everybody's home in the neighborhood and watching Netflix or whatever. All right, so I'm now launching into quite a different different attitude of drawing. Now it's, let me make sure my pen is behaving well. No, not so much. Let's put this pen down and pick up the other one. Here it is. For what it's worth, I always have two pens at the ready, at least two. And that was not working so well either, so hang on. Bear with me, we will get them working. First of all, let me answer. Okay, that's working better now. Why am I going to use a fountain pen instead of, say, one of these felt tip pens? Well, because, first of all, it's thicker line. This is thinner. But more importantly, because a fountain pen, because of the way it's made, the end of it is a split piece of metal. So when you push down, the two pieces of metal spread apart and you get thick lines. So with a fountain pen, you get thick lines and thin lines, depending how hard you push. Do you see that? You can't do that with a felt tip. Well, not to the same extent. All right, now, I've got a pen that works. I'm going to start right here in the focal point, if you will, right here, this gable over this door. And here's one of the most important principles to which I must adhere. My goal is, number one, to create a beautiful piece of art. My goal, secondarily, my lesser goal, if you will, is to render this building. Right? So in this regard, right now, what I'm doing is no different from my oil painting. Different from my portrait painting. That's a different. When you do portraits, number one is likeness, and then everything else is secondary. But, all right. So one of the things, so that means I'm going to be focused on making interesting marks. So you may notice, first of all, that I am, in fact, holding the, now I won't necessarily, I don't require myself to hold the pen in this, what I call side saddle manner the entire time. I can switch if I want to, and no doubt I will for the sake of variety. But number one, I want to make interesting marks. Number two, I am by no means beholden to draw or render the entire building. Like I've pretty much drawn the whole thing in the watercolor pencils, right? But I am not going to persist in that pattern. Now the question, with every stroke, okay, I've never said it exactly this way. This is a good way to put it. Before each mark, I ask myself the question, is this mark truly necessary, first of all? And again, not for the purpose of drawing this building. Do you understand? If it's the purpose is to draw the building, then I just draw every mark that's there, right? But that is not my number one goal here. My number one goal is to create a beautiful piece of art. And beautiful means line, shape, design, value, texture, right? You know that, right? So first of all, I ask myself, is this mark necessary? How much of it is necessary? And how important is it that this particular mark be perfectly accurate or precise? Now see, that's where we, myself included, that's where we get into trouble as artists. We forget that we're creating art and we accidentally slip, just by force of habit, we slip back into drawing pictures. And again, you know, I mispronounced the word on purpose just to be a little bit ornery, but more importantly, in order to draw the distinction between what we're here to do, which is create beautiful art, versus draw merely a picture. And again, for you people who don't speak English, you won't necessarily hear the difference between, the real word in English is picture. But I'm saying picture. Again, partly just to be ornery, but more importantly, to remind myself that no, I'm not here to draw a picture. I'm here to create a piece of art. Even in this case, even though I'm drawing as a gift to this woman's husband who works, this is his business. So even though the assignment clearly from my client was draw a picture of this building. Do you hear me? Do you hear me talking here? Even though that was the assignment, still, what she did not spell out what she did, because she sent me a copy of one of my watercolor paintings from my website. She said, I like this. So this is what she's responding to. She doesn't savvy the difference between this necessarily. She doesn't have to understand everything I'm telling you guys. But you have to understand it. I'm treating you all as if you are artists, you understand. I'm assuming that you are easily seeing how messy, or one, if you want to use an artistic term, I'm assuming that you're noticing how expressive my lines are. Expressive is a dangerous term because almost everybody in Western civilization lives under the absurd myth that art is about expression. In my opinion, I'll exaggerate here. I'm exaggerating, say nothing could be further from the truth. That's an exaggeration, you understand. Just spoken out of passion, out of a loathing for this misconception. Art is not about self-expression. I'm not trying to express myself. I am trying to create an item of beauty. That's enough. That's another whole lecture, another whole rant that I'll forbear to go into right now. Having a little bit of trouble with this pen today. It disturbs me a little bit. Okay, a little while ago I said the first question I need to ask before each mark that I make is this mark absolutely necessary? Have I ever used Uncle's about synthetic mongoose bristle? I have not. Huh. Generally, I don't have good luck with synthetics because they fray, F-R-A-Y. They fray up at the edges. I don't know what it is I do to them. I know years ago I was using an odorless paint thinner. That's before I put the kibosh on that real quick, because that eats up your nylon brushes. Don't use odorless paint thinner to clean your brushes. Hang on, folks. I am not at all happy with the behavior of this pen. Let me give one of my little speeches about this. Especially comes into play anytime you're doing calligraphy. And this is what they don't tell you in the cute little intro to calligraphy kits that you can buy at your local artsy craftsy store, like, you know, Michael's or AC Moore, or I'm sorry, it's sounding like I'm ridiculing those. No, they're perfectly fine. But what is not so perfectly fine are the little calligraphy kits. If you have a child or a young person in your life who might be interested in calligraphy, or if it's you, word of warning: do not buy a calligraphy kit, you know, that has like the pen in it and 5 different nibs and a little jar of ink and so on. Okay, do not waste your money buying those. The quality is almost always I should say probably a second on. I should say, on the other hand, okay, if it's a speedball kit or if it's made by, but even then I wouldn't. I would just buy the individual pieces. Anyway, here's the dirty little secret that they don't tell you in the cute little booklet that tells you how to do calligraphy. And it's related to what I'm doing right here. Anytime you're doing ink with a pen on paper, you have 3 separate elements that are working with, or more likely, against each other. Those 3 elements are the ink, the paper, and the pen. And there must always be a happy synergy that takes place between these 3 elements. And all 3, it can't just be 2 of the 3. It has to be all 3, the paper, the ink, and the pen. And each of those variables are in fact a variable. And if you have the right ink and the right pen but not the right paper, you're screwed. If you have the right paper and the right pen but not the right ink, you're screwed. If you have the right paper and the right ink but not the right pen, I think I said it right. Do you follow me? So it has to be all 3. And how do you find out which 3? Oh, easy. You experiment. You know, you don't read it in a book. No, 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 no. You don't get a book. You don't do a Google search for which pen, paper, and ink should I use. No, 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 no. It's different. In fact, sometimes it depends on the weather, the atmospheric pressure, the temperature. No, so every time when you set out to do some artwork that includes paper, pen, and ink, you might have to experiment again. So that's what I did some before, of course, before I started broadcasting here, and I'm doing a little bit more because I'm finding I'm having a little bit of trouble. The ink is not flowing as readily as I would like. Now I need to get the name of this company in here somewhere, and I really don't know how to do that. It can't fit on the sign, and my client understood that. Maybe I'm just going to label it, you know, down here at the bottom. My guess is that's what my client expected, because she did say something along these lines. Okay, there's a dog down here, and I accidentally started drawing a bush. Uncle says, if you dip your basic plasticky synthetic bristle brush in extremely hot water, oh yes, oh, will straighten up, really? Well, I'll try it. But don't dip the synthetic natural hair brushes like Mongoose or Sable into hot water. They will be destroyed. I learned the hard way. You don't mean synthetic natural hair. You mean don't dip the natural hair brushes right into hot water. That is correct. Thank you very much. You're correct. But I'll try that with the plasticky stuff and see if I have success in that regard. I certainly have enough ruined brushes around here to experiment with. Let me show you, by the way, I think I can do this without being too dangerous. What I'm having to do with this, this is a plunger that sucks up the ink, and I'm forcing ink out through the tip of the pen so that it starts flowing again. Do you see that pile of ink that I just made? I'm going to throw this in the trash so that I don't pick that up and dribble. My person walking the dog here just suddenly developed a pretty significant beard. I'm not sure I'm going to keep that, but do we have sound? Yeah, we do. Okay, just checking. Well, I don't have music. That's what I'm missing. All of a sudden, the music stopped. I have no idea why. Bear with me just a minute here. My computer is doing some really crazy things. All right, and all of a sudden I have this feeling that this broadcast is just getting way too long. So I'm beginning to crave my own personal space. So you know I'm in trouble when. So let's wrap it up here. And you've seen enough. I may start a separate broadcast when I begin to do the watercolor, because that would really be fun, wouldn't it? I'm going to do watercolor, by the way, and then probably do some some cross hatching on top of the watercolor and go back and forth with ink, watercolor, for a while. All right, but let's stop there. Like I said, I'm good and worn out, and you probably are too. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your company very much. And hello, Samar Ali Khan. It's been, I do remember you. I do remember you. I hope you're still watching. Indeed. Good to hear your voice, so to speak, again. I remember you very well. Do you know that I have been on YouTube ever since I left Facebook? I lost some of you old friends when Facebook kicked me off for 60 days 3 years ago, and at that point I switched over to let me move you guys just for a minute, and I'll talk to you face to face, just in case there's anybody watching who doesn't know who I am. There. Hello, my name's Dan. You've been watching my hands. If you've been watching for a while, that's all you've seen is hands. And so I'm just going to turn around this way just long enough to say hi and goodbye. And hello, Patricia Horn. Thanks for watching. And Samar Ali Khan. Very good to see your voice, see your name there again. And Uncle 60. I'm anxious to try that. I have a whole bunch of those. Here's I have a number of these stashes of worn out brushes. And here's one of those, fake sable things. I mean, not fake, synthetic brushes you're talking about. So do you think, is it like boiling water or just hot water? Well, anyway, I'll try with just hot water out of the faucet, right? Out of the tap, first of all. See if that does it. That would be a great trick. All right, you heard it here. If it doesn't work, we'll talk to Uncle 60. Thanks, guys. Love you. Bye.